today we're talking about why we need space, right? The importance of space in our work, relationships, and our mind, and in our life, and why space is so important. Now, I want you to tell me, and I want you to write this in the comments section, what do you do with space? When you get space in your day, when you look at your schedule and you see a bit of space, what do you do? When you think about your weekend and you realize actually you've got more time than you expected, how do you fill space? When you know you're traveling, you're commuting, how are you filling that space? Notice that there's actually more gaps in space in our lives than we actually believe exist. And for that reason, I'd love for you to just tell me right in the comment section, when you see space, what do you fill it with? What do you put into that gap, right? How do you make the most of it? The reason why I wanted to talk to you about space was I remember a story from when I lived as a monk. And it was about a student who came up to his guru. And the student came up to the guru and said to him, he started just rambling on about his successes, what he'd been achieving, how well things were going, how much he was just progressing. But he was doing it in slight arrogance. There was a slight bit of overconfidence in the air of the way he was presenting himself. So to show him a lesson or to explain something to him, the guru, remember yesterday we talked about two types of people who believe in you, change spotters and cheerleaders. We need both of them in our lives. We need people who motivate us, but we also need people who remind us and make us reflect of what really matters, what's really important. So what he did is that he poured the tea. Of course it was green tea, it had to be, right? It can't be any other type of tea if there was a guru. He poured the green tea, and as he started to pour it into the cup got filled to the rim. And then he just carried on pouring it. So the cup was just overflowing. The tea was now spilling onto the table. And the student said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You know, you can't fill something that's already full. And the teacher said, exactly. You can't fill something that's already full. You already feel that you know everything. You already feel that you've got everything taken care of. You already feel that you're full to the rim. You can't add anything to that. And therefore space is such a underestimated, undervalued period that we all need in our day. We all need in our week, we all need in our year. Now, the amazing thing is that statistics show that so many people don't even take their holidays from work, right? There's leftover days, and these aren't days that you can carry forward. These are days just lost because we're so busy, right? It's incredible to believe that we're getting paid to take holiday, yet we don't take it. Now, how many of you have ever done that? How many of you have forgotten to take holiday or not been able to do it? Whichever one it is, it's interesting that we feel so full. When you're asked what you're doing, I know so many people, like I was asking someone the other day, I asked them, what are you doing? It's your birthday weekend, or it's your birthday, or it's your anniversary, or it's just the weekend. It's not even like a special weekend, it's just the weekend. And you ask someone, what are you doing this weekend? How many of us feel pressurized to have to say we are doing something, and how many of us feel honest and comfortable in just saying, you know what, I haven't got any plans, I'm just going to take some time out. And I find that I see both, so we see both types of people. We see some people who feel pressurized to have to say that they've got something cool going on, or they've got something interesting to go to. And at the same time, we have individuals who just be like, yeah, you know what, I'm quite comfortable. But it's that creating that comfort, I still feel that pressure or that tension in people's behavior and expression where they feel slight discomfort, slight bit of anxiety in saying, I haven't got any plans, you know, I haven't got anything to do. It almost feels that we've created a taboo around not having something to do, right? We've created a taboo about the way we feel about not having something planned, about having space. We don't necessarily say, I'm so glad I have nothing to do. Sometimes we may say that. I do it all the time. Just before you send an email, just after you sent an email, just taking that moment between activities. Once you stop doing an activity, just take some time to breathe. Before you start another activity, take some time to breathe. Giving yourself space to breathe does something amazing. One of the reasons why we feel we don't have space in our lives is that our mind's moving faster than our bodies. How many of you have ever felt it? And press the like button if this is you, that your mind is just moving at an incredibly fast pace, but your body feels tired. How many of you have ever felt that way? And how many of you have felt the opposite? Your body's moving really fast, you're doing lots of things, but your mind's feeling really tired and you just feel drained and you can't think. That's because we're experiencing what happens when there's a disconnect or a lack of harmony between the pace of the mind and the pace of the body. Breathing and focusing on your breath allows you to realign both your mind and your body so that they're working together now. You're not having that friction that you experience with one trying to be ahead of the other. And you need to find out when you function best. Do you work better in the morning or the evening? Most people, statistically, scientifically, biologically proven, work better in the morning hours. Therefore, it's about sleeping early. Now, as a student, that just sounds like crazy advice. It's like, when was the last time you slept before midnight? Hours before midnight count as double or feel as double. You sleep at 10 o'clock, those 2 hours before 12 are much more powerful than any hour you sleep after 12. It's why when you sleep at 1 a.m. and wake up at 9 and slept for 8 hours, doesn't feel as energized as when you slept at 10 p.m. and woke up at 6 a.m., right? It's about getting that schedule right for yourself. Also get quality sleep, remove your laptop, remove your phone from that room, from that vicinity where you're resting, where you're sleeping, because that's definitely going to trigger more reasons to stay awake. The key to an early morning is an early night. It all starts the night before, and therefore it's planning. If you want to start waking up early tomorrow, it's not going to work. You want to start waking up early on Monday, it will work. Use your weekend to wake up early tomorrow so you'll feel tired more early on a Saturday night. Sleep earlier on that Saturday. Wake up early on the Sunday. Keep that routine going. Waking up early is like a discipline that requires total focus, but will revolutionize your life if you're able to do it. So the best advice I can give is obviously sleep early the night before, don't eat too late the night before, don't be on your phone the night before, and create a pattern. And don't try and do an extreme. Don't now say, I'm gonna wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm gonna wake up at 6. Create something realistic. Just try to wake up 15 minutes earlier a day for the next week. Then increase that to half an hour the week after. Then increase it 45 minutes. Take it as small steps. Remove any sort of trigger or any sort of mind engaging thing or mind numbing in one sense, whether it's TV, media, whatever it is. Close that off about 2-3 hours before you go to sleep. Now that's really not natural for a lot of us. We're tuned in all the way up till the point we go to sleep, or we're tuned in till we want to go to sleep and then spend another 1 hour, 2 hours rolling around in bed trying to get to sleep. But we all go through this cycle of not being able to disconnect. So the key is to disconnect 2 to 3 hours before you actually want to fall asleep, not get into bed, right? The 2-3 hours before you want to fall asleep. That's when you need to be disconnecting. If space is used properly, that's what I'm talking about, using space properly. We're not talking about just creating space so we can do nothing. We're talking about creating space that allows us to go back to not having space in a more effective way. See, your mind will not focus when you're doing what you want to do if you don't focus on the things when you don't want to be there. So it's about creating attentiveness and attention and focus throughout the day, giving things respect that they need, allowing yourself to prioritize at that given space. It said that the ideal type of sleep is cave-like darkness. Now I can actually give real life experience of that. I've slept in a cave before for about 6 nights, and sleeping in a cave-like darkness is beautiful because you literally only have the light creeping in through that gap when the sun comes out, and then there's no light that creeps in through that gap as well. So it's said scientifically and biologically we should sleep in cave-like darkness, right? So take away any light, even lights from like flashing TVs or remote controls or whatever it may be. All that kind of stuff creates challenges to falling asleep. Sign on to a breathing class at your local gym or whatever it may be. All of the yoga practices, loads of gyms are teaching it now. I always give this example of football players through to singers, through to musicians that are having to use the air in their body for a long period of time, all practice breathing techniques to be able to maximize their potential on the field or on the stage. Take space to write down things you want to chase, get done, things you want to change. That's a great way of doing it. Appreciate how space makes you more effective when you go back to not having it. That's what you've got to connect with. You've got to connect with the understanding and the principle that when you take space, you go back to being more effective and impactful in the other things. One of the most effective ways of get space is don't fill your gaps with your phone. Fill it with a book or a breath, right? Don't fill your gaps with your phone. It's such an easy thing to do. Any gap, just picking this up and spending all the time in the world with this, right? Don't use your gaps to pick this up unless you're using this to tune in. You may have a meditation app that you're using. You may be tuning in right now. If it's something that's allowing you to learn about these things, if it's an ebook, etc., that's fine. But don't fill it with a mindless game. Don't fill it with a check on social media for nothing. You do everything with meaning, do everything with a purpose, do everything with a want. And you may actually say, actually, sometimes I do want to play a mindless game because I just want to be mindless. That's cool too, right? That's cool too. There are sometimes I enjoy sports a lot, and there'll be a time when I just want to switch off. I want to watch sports because that allows me to switch off in a different way than meditation. And I practice that too. So I create time in my day. It's allowing yourself to create space, but with that space, having a focus or a goal as well. So watching that football match, I don't have a goal of anything apart from my team winning and relaxing and taking a break. But I may also create space to reflect so I can re-identify what my priorities are. Notice space too has a goal. Space too has a purpose. Space too has meaning. Worry is not necessarily right because worry stops you from using that energy to solve the problem. Worry takes that energy away. Worry steals energy rather than giving you energy. So instead of worrying, take it as an alert, take it as a redefining period, take it as a part of your day or a part of your life where you need to start becoming more aware of what you can do to change that. How many of you feel like that? That you're just opening up tabs consistently. That's why we've all got to do what we do on our phones, you know, to save energy, to save data. We're always closing all the apps, right? If you don't do that, double click and rising up. We need to do that in our minds momentarily. Create parts of your day, whether it's breakfast, lunchtime, dinner, whether it's every 2 hours, every 3 hours, whatever it is for you, to just close those tabs. Write down the tabs you have open, cross off the ones that are not important, put them in another bucket for later on, put them in a bucket for tomorrow, reorganize and reschedule just as you do with folders in your computer, right? That's exactly what we need to do. The same things we apply in tech, we've got to apply in our lives. The same way we filter Instagram pictures to create them to be more attractive. When you're dealing with information, filter them. Right? Put a nice light filter on them. Look at the good in them. Put another filter on them that allows you to see a different side. Right? Start doing what I call life editing. Start editing your life in the same way you edit your pictures, in the same way you edit your videos. Apply that same mindset to the way you're interacting with life. Try some life editing. People usually split up their initial hour in the morning into 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of meditation, and 20 minutes of goals or reflection. That's an ideal use of an hour. Spend 20 minutes exercising, getting your body active again, slow exercises, whether it's yoga, whether it's some fitness regime, whatever it is for you, 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of meditation, and 20 minutes of reflecting on what you want to achieve that day, goals, etc. You can make that even more impactful if you plan the 3 the night before, right? That's the way to do it. But really, really, I hope you're going to take this time, I hope you're going to take this space to actually realize where you can build up space in your life. Definitely by taking away the things that drain our space. Definitely taking away the pressure where we feel that space is a bad thing, or we feel that space is laziness, right? So really, really start recognizing that space has a purpose in your life. Space has meaning in your life. And recognizing that space comes in phases. There may be phases in your life where you have no space. I've just moved to New York. I've been here for nearly 2 weeks. I haven't had space for 2 weeks. And I don't anticipate having space for a while because I'm in a phase where I'm trying to build something. But there will be phases in your life where you're not building, you're monitoring, you're managing, right? You're preserving, or you're ending something. Those will have different amounts of space available. So notice, balance doesn't mean that you have the same thing happening all the time. Balance means that you have phases where something's higher, phases where something's lower. There will be phases in your life where space is in abundance. There will be phases in your life where you won't have space. That's what balance is. Balance isn't having everything all of the time, because that's impossible.